The train depot was a place of departures, filled with the metallic scent of iron tracks, the hiss of steam, and the quiet sorrow of goodbyes that rarely made themselves loud. Under the vast canvas of a sinking sun, Eleanor stood clutching her suitcase, as though the last remnants of her strength were sewn into its handle. She wasn't running from a crime nor chasing a dream, but something more complicated, the invisible weight of choices she never asked to make. Life in her small town had been an endless cycle of obligations, of faces that knew too much about her, of whispers behind curtains and eyes that burned with judgment. She had decided it was time to leave it all behind. The depot was her escape hatch, the train her vessel, the unknown her only promise of freedom. Boots clattered across the wooden planks, voices called out last-minute farewells, and the whistles, cries sliced through the air like a warning to anyone who hesitated. Eleanor stepped forward, her heart pounding like the pistons of the engine before her. Then came the sound of spurs, slow, deliberate, carrying the rhythm of someone who walked with neither rush nor apology. She glanced over her shoulder and saw him, a cowboy weathered by sun and storm, his broad shoulders wrapped in a dust-worn coat, a hat casting a shadow over eyes that seemed older than the land itself. He wasn't just looking at her. He was seeing her, as if the rest of the depot had dissolved into dust and only her silhouette mattered. Eleanor stiffened, her grip tightening on the suitcase. But before she could speak, his voice, low, deep, threaded with the patience of someone who knew the long roads of loneliness, rolled through the space between them. "Your journey ends with me." The words rooted her in place, not because they were a command, but because they carried the weight of destiny, as though the earth itself had chosen this moment. The whistle screamed again. The train lurched forward, and for the first time, Eleanor realized that escape wasn't always about running. It could be about stopping in the exact place fate intended. Winter came fierce across the plains, blanketing the ranch in silence and forcing Jed and Sarah to work side by side, mending fences, feeding stock, and sharing long nights by the fire. The days were cold, but their companionship grew warm. Jed began to notice how Sarah's laughter filled the house in a way that did not erase Mary but honored her memory, as though the sisters' spirits were intertwined. The neighbors whispered, some saying it was wrong, others nodding with understanding, for they saw how Sarah steadied Jed's once crumbling world. One night, when a storm rattled the windows and the fire burned low, Jed finally spoke the words he had buried. He confessed how torn he felt, how guilt gnawed at him whenever he found his heart stirring for Sarah. With tears in her eyes, Sarah told him she too had loved Mary deeply, and that she only wanted to honor her by keeping Jed from wasting away in grief. She spoke of Mary's last letter, one she had left with Sarah years ago. Inside, Mary wrote that if the fever or fate ever took her, she prayed Jed would not walk alone in this world, and she hoped he might one day find comfort in Sarah's care. Jed's hands shook as he read it, his heart breaking anew, yet also swelling with a release he hadn't known he needed. From that moment, the burden of guilt lifted like fog from the valley. Love was no betrayal, it was survival, and it was exactly what Mary had wished for them. As spring thawed the plains, Jed and Sarah stood before the preacher in the small wooden church, the same place he had once wed Mary, and with simple vows, they began a new life together. There were tears, yes, but also smiles, for even in sorrow, love had found its way back. Sarah became not only Jed's wife, but the heart of the ranch, and together they carried Mary's memory as a guiding star. Their story was not one of replacing love, but of love enduring, reshaping, and healing. It was a reminder that even in the harshest lands, life blooms again if we let it. So if this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us for more powerful tales of resilience, love, and second chances. Your support keeps these stories alive, and there's so much more ahead that you won't want to miss.